So apparently there are rumors going around that Ryan Reynolds may be looking to snatch Marvel from the greasy, grimy hands of Disney. After Deadpool and Wolverine, enormous success, absolutely enormous. They've already crested $1.3 billion in sales. And let's put that in perspective, though. A tremendous amount of money for a movie. Drop in the bucket for Kamala Harris. So let's just go ahead and put that in perspective. But it looks like Ryan Reynolds is going to try to, and it's just whispers. I've done a bit of research on this, and I can't find anything that's absolutely concrete, but it seems to be popping up everywhere that I look, that Ryan Reynolds is looking to grab Marvel away from Disney. Now, I don't know the woke status of Ryan Reynolds as opposed to all the other Hollywood weirdos who are unbelievably woke and pretty much killing the movie industry all the way around. I mean, let's be honest, a lot of movies have taken massive losses over the last few years, and primarily due to its woke ideology. It's absolutely destroying the movie industry, and for some reason, these movie companies, they just keep churning out the same cookie-cutter bullshit movies that they've been cutting out for the last 3 or 4 years and losing their ass on it. And that makes no sense to me whatsoever. So after all the hoopla, all the fighting, and all the back and forth between Ryan Reynolds and Disney and Marvel, it looks like, obviously he got to go ahead to do Deadpool and Wolverine. And the movie was a resounding success. I mean, it's absolutely smashed it. The biggest movie, second biggest movie of 2024. And like I said, $1.3 billion. Now, what's going on, what the screaming is about is Ryan Reynolds thought that Disney would take a lot of the profits that they made off of Deadpool and put it back into, good Marvel projects and maybe a Deadpool 4. And instead, what they did is they took half that money and they sent it over to Disney to help facilitate their woke movies that are just going to continue to lose money. Because for some reason, Disney has not figured out that woke does not work. They cannot figure that out. And to give you an example of some of the movies. Now, some of these were before the whole woke culture actually started to get fired up. But we're going to take a look at some of the movies that Disney's made that has lost money and then see if we can figure out exactly what the hell Disney is thinking. Because apparently they're not thinking with a brain, and that's all I can come up to. So we're going to kick this off, and no particular order. We're just going to look at a few movies that Disney's made over the last 10, 15 years that have absolutely lost their ass on the movie. So first off, we're going to start with John Carter. John Carter was made in 2012, and it lost a whopping $250 million. I did see the movie. It actually wasn't as bad as I thought it was going to be. It wasn't great, but it wasn't absolutely terrible. Next coming in here, we have, now this movie was terrible. This is The Lone Ranger. This was done in 2013 by Disney, and it lost a staggering $239 million. And let's see, moving on here. Bada bing, bada boom, bada bing. And we have The Marvels, and everybody knows what a turd this thing ended up being with Brie Larson. It was 2023, and it lost a staggering $237 million. This movie was a turd from the get-go. Now, I did watch the first one, Captain Marvel, whatever the hell it was called, and it wasn't that bad. I did not think it was bad. But then, as these comic book movies seem to do, DC included, they hit a great formula. Then somebody has the bright idea, hey, let's go PC and woke. We'll kill it. Prime example, Wonder Woman. Fantastic movie. What's her name? Gal Gadot, whatever her name is. Fantastic movie. Then they do Wonder Woman 1984. Sucked. Everything about that movie sucked. It was terrible. It was woke garbage and woke trash. And it showed at the box office because I think it ended up losing like $160 million when it was all said and done because nobody wanted to see it. Nobody wants to see the woke trash. And yet Hollywood is just absolutely insist on giving us more woke trash. So moving on, Disney in 2022 did Strange World. It lost $199 million. And let's see here. Mars Needs Moms from Disney. In 2011, it lost $187 million. And you got to think about what $187 million was in 2011 as opposed to today. So realistically, in today's numbers, that would have been about $250 million that one lost. Let's see. Jungle Cruise. This was an absolute turd of a movie. I made it through maybe the first 15 minutes, and I was done. It was horrible. It lost $162 million. So, I mean, they're killing it. They're knocking it out of the park. Mulan, done in 2020, lost $159 million. And let's see, A Wrinkle in Time, 2018, by Disney, of course, it lost $152 million. So, I mean, they're doing a great job. Onward, Disney, 2020, lost $147 million. Let's see here. The Alamo, this was back in 2004 before everything went woke and stupid on the side of the left, but it did lose 146. So like I said, you take that and compare it up to today's numbers, it's probably around 250 mil. Just a drop in the bucket for Kamala Harris, though. Indiana Jones and the Dial of Destiny, 2023, lost $134 million. This movie was a joke. It was absolutely terrible. They never should have made it. I don't know why they're hanging on to this. You cannot do better than the original trilogy of Indiana Jones. You simply can't. Same thing with Star Wars. You cannot do better than the original trilogy of Star Wars. That's when, in my opinion, that's when movies were in their heydays. Back in the 70s and 80s, everything was new, everything was fresh. Hollywood knew how to make movies, and they knew how to come up with new ideas. Something they simply can't do nowadays. They just keep rehashing the same old shit after the same old shit after the same old shit. And, you know, I mean, how many reboots have Spider-Man have we had? You know, everything's being rebooted. And now, from what I understand, they're going to reboot Hulk, which will be, what, the third reboot of that? They're doing Fantastic Four, which is going to be the fourth reboot of that. I mean, come on, guys. Come up with something original. You know, save your industry, because right now your industry looks absolutely terrible. Wish by Walt Disney, 2023, more woke trash, lost $131 million. And let's see here, Haunted Mansion, Disney, 2023, lost $117 million. And of course, we have Lightyear, serious woke trash. 2022, it lost $106 million. Then, of course, we have A Christmas Carol, 2009. It lost $50 to $100 million roughly. And now, like I said, that was before the woke disaster that Disney has become. But the point is Disney is churning out turd after turd after turd movie. They're losing their movies in record numbers. But what happens is they have a couple of blockbusters. You know, they'll make 10 really bad movies that'll lose a tremendous amount of money. Then they'll have a couple of blockbusters that will negate all that debt and put them in the plus column. And one of those just happened to be Wolverine and Deadpool. If it wasn't for that, Disney would have lost. They would have tanked on their year, on their movies. They'd have absolutely taken a beating. But Wolverine and Deadpool pushed them over the top, so they go back to the plus column. So now you can sit there and say, well, that's okay. They can keep making all these crappy movies. Then as long as they hit a couple of good big ones and knock it out of the ballpark, that puts them back in the plus column. Okay, true. But had they not made these turd movies and taken the losses, think of how much in the plus column they would be. Instead of being in the plus column 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10%, they would be in the plus column 60, 70, 80%. Huge difference. If you're churning out movies that are constantly losing money, and we're talking $100 million, $200 million, and then you have a couple that make, let's say, $500 million, all right, that puts you at $1 billion, but you make 10 movies that erase that $1 billion. It's a zero net gain. It's a zero net. All you've done is manage for people to keep their woke jobs at Disney. You're really not turning a massive profit on anything. You're turning a profit, but not what you should be, not what the Disney of the 60s, 70s, and 80s were turning, and even the 90s. Disney was a juggernaut back then. I mean, you know, the company was not as big as it is today, but their profits were massive back then. Now their profits are minuscule because they keep swinging a miss, swinging a miss. That's all they do over and over and over. So in light of that, and let's be honest, besides the Deadpool movies, what has Marvel Disney really done since Endgame? What have they really done? They put out a bunch of turds. And now we've got this new Captain America coming out with this Sam guy, the Falcon. It's going to lose money. I'm going to tell you right now, my prediction, it's going to lose $150 million right now. That is my prediction. Because that character, A, it's not Captain America. Did I say Captain Marvel? I may have said Captain Marvel. It's not Captain America. B, this is not, because in the comic book series, it was what? The Winter Soldier that became Captain America? Because he has the superpowers of Steve Rogers. The Falcon has none. He's got a suit. That's it. And you say, well, Tony Stark, he only had a suit. He had no powers. Well, he did because he was a genius. This Sam, whatever the guy's name is, the Falcon, he has no powers of any kind. He's not a genius. He has no super strength. He doesn't have anything. He's just got a suit. That's it. And the movie's going to absolutely tank. And I think they're bringing in the Red Hawk. And, of course, they're going to bring all the people back from the TV shows, because and that's where Disney's failing, is they make the movies, then they spin them all off and put them in TV shows, then they bring them back to the movies. And to me, it's just not the same. It's just simply not the same when you do that. You've lost the magic because, it's like Avengers. You can't put the cast of Avengers and make Avengers and then make a TV series and then bring them back to the movies because all the magic's lost because half of the fun is waiting for the next one to come out. But when you're just getting bombarded with it on the Disney Channel, like Loki, that was a horrible show. What is this, Agatha All Along? Absolutely trash. Absolutely woke liberal trash. That entire show is not even worth turning on. She-Hulk, I mean, come on. What a turd is that? And that's some of the worst CG I've ever seen in my life. It is a joke. It is so bad. And that show must literally have zero budget. But Marvel's they're just mistake after mistake after mistake. So from what I understand is Ryan Reynolds like I said, none of this is set in stone. This is just the whispers I'm hearing that Ryan Reynolds doesn't really have a burning desire to do Deadpool 4 because of all the hassle he had to go through with Disney and Marvel to get Deadpool 3 out. So that ignited the whispers. Is Ryan Reynolds looking to buy Marvel from Disney? Well, A, that would be awesome. But what you need to understand is, first off, we're talking a massive amount of money. We're not talking about a few $100 million to buy Marvel. The purchase is going to be massive. He doesn't have the cash, so he's going to have to bring in investors. Okay. Now, I did hear that one of the investors he was talking to was Elon Musk. I highly doubt that because Elon Musk is a tech guy. Now, granted, do guys that have that kind of money, will they invest in other things that make money? Absolutely, even if they know nothing about it. But being that Elon Musk is like a super genius, I don't think that that's really something he would be interested in. But there are lots of people out there with a lot of money who would love to jump into that industry. So I'm sure Ryan Reynolds could raise the money, which comes up to the next thing. Who's going to run Disney? It cannot be Ryan Reynolds because, A, that would literally end his acting career because running Marvel is an enormous job. And obviously, it's not one guy. You have a board. You have a lot of people running the company. But he might be in a position to where he has some say-so in the direction of Marvel, but he could not run the company. He could not become like the CEO because that would absolutely end his movie career because he would be spending all his time, A, trying to stop the woke bullshit from Hollywood, and B, he'd have to fetter out all these. I mean, how many scripts, how many movies, how many ideas come through Marvel probably on the daily? I mean, who knows how many's coming in? And so, he would spend all of his time having to wade through just mountains of garbage. So that would effectively end his career, which would effectively end the Deadpool series, unless somehow he squeaked out enough time to say, hey, I'm taking this time off, we're doing Deadpool. But in the current state that it is, Disney would be better to let Marvel go because Disney is turning out, like I said, trash after trash after trash. And had they not conceded a tremendous amount to Ryan Reynolds, Deadpool 3, Deadpool Wolverine never would have been made. I mean, they had to really, sit on their hands for that one because we all know how Ryan Reynolds likes to act and likes to, his smart alecky persona and how he likes to make fun. He likes to poke fun of everything. And in this movie, he did heavily at Marvel, Fox, and Disney. He did absolutely heavily. And so regardless of how Disney felt about it, I can tell you right now, that was a consistent slap in their face. A consistent slap in their face. That Ryan Reynolds was doing that. But that's Deadpool. And if you remove that element out of the movie, then the movie bombs. It's plain and simple. Now, at least Disney had enough common sense to realize if we don't let him do this, this movie's going to be an absolute loss. We will lose Ryan Reynolds forever, and there will be no more Deadpools. So therefore, we will be regated down to hopefully having that one blockbuster per year or every couple of years that keeps us in the plus column. Because right now, The only thing Marvel has going for it right now is Deadpool. That is it. That is it. You know, like I said, they're doing the reboot of the Fantastic Four. The original one, which came back out in the 80s, it was just a laughable joke of itself. It was absolutely horrible. It was super campy, which in turn makes the movie fun to watch, believe it or not. It's a horrible movie, but if you get a chance to watch it because it's so campy. It's like the train wreck that never ends. You just, it was kind of like Kamala Harris's campaign. You just kept watching and watching to see what was going to happen next. And that's how that movie is. Then they did the reboot with Jessica Alba and Chris Evans, all those guys. And they weren't bad movies, but they weren't great movies because they tried to make them too PG. And everybody wants in superhero movies to be a little gritty, just get a little violent. And it's a superhero movie. That's what they're about. But they tried to make it too, not even PG, they tried to make it too G, and the movies ultimately did not do well. And so that kicked that one out. Then they made the third reboot with, I don't even know the cast they used in this third one. It was god awful. It was just a piece of junk. And the thing that amazes me is somebody's actually greenlighting these movies. Somebody is watching these before the final output and going, this is fantastic. We got a gold mine on our hands. And then to release it and it absolutely tanks. And that one was it was god awful movie. So now we're on the next reboot. And this is and I understand why Disney and Marvel did this. I think it's a massive mistake. Now they got Robert Downey Jr. playing Dr. Doom. Huge mistake. It doesn't matter what I see Robert Downey Jr. in at this point. He's Iron Man. I don't care what movie he makes. He's Iron Man. I see Iron Man. That's all I see now is Iron Man. So you're going to take him from being the catalyst for Marvel. If there was no Robert Downey Jr. and no Iron Man, there would have been no Marvel. That was the catalyst. And one of the best movies they made out of all those movies was the very first Iron Man. I thought that was the origin story, and it was brilliant. Absolutely brilliant. So now they recast him back as Dr. Doom because they're missing on all cylinders. Nothing's firing over at Marvel. So they have to bring in some star power. And they're bringing Robert Downey Jr. in as Dr. Doom into the Fantastic Four. I think that's a massive mistake because everybody's going to just see him as Iron Man. Now, it's going to be interesting to see how he contrasts the two characters. The slightly psychotic genius good guy or the demented psychotic bad guy. How's he going to contrast these two characters? That's going to be pretty interesting to find out. But like I said, I think it's an absolute mistake bringing him into that role. I think they should have brought somebody else in, somebody besides Dwayne Johnson. I'm so sick and damn tired of seeing Dwayne Johnson. Everything I turn on is freaking Dwayne Johnson. I mean, it's just getting pathetic now. But they should have brought somebody else in to that role. But here's the deal. Unless Disney either fires everybody at Marvel and starts over, or they end up selling it, if it's true, to Ryan Reynolds and an investor group. Marvel is going to be doomed. They're going to be doomed. They are sending out woke trash after woke trash, and it's losing money. It's losing records amounts of money. Nobody's going to go see them. And like I said, the new Captain America, I'm predicting right now it's going to lose $150 million. It's not going to do it. This guy's character, this Sam, whatever his name is, it's not there. It doesn't have the backstory that a Captain America has. Little scrawny kid wants to get into the military, can't do it. They give him the super serum. They cryogenically freeze him. He wakes up 40 years later and the world's different. That's a great backstory. This guy has none. Zero. There's nothing to love about the character, so therefore there's no reason to develop this character. And I think it's going to absolutely bomb. The new Fantastic Four, we'll have to wait and see because it does have Robert Downey Jr., and a lot of people will go see it just for that fact. But if they don't get rid of the people currently in charge of Marvel, they're going to die a slow, miserable death. And I think their best option right now for Disney is to see if this Ryan Reynolds thing is real and sell it out to Ryan Reynolds. Because apparently Ryan Reynolds he's got a road that he's looking down, which he did for Deadpool, and that's what's made Deadpool a massive success. He's looking down the road past the woke bullshit. And maybe he can get Marvel back on track to what Marvel was. Because after Endgame, besides Deadpool, it's just been nothing but garbage. That's all it's been. So in my opinion, if this is true, if Ryan Reynolds does have the ability, and we all know he can raise the money, he's got a name. That helps tremendously. So, and, with that name comes a lot of power. And he's got some money, let's be honest. He's made a fortune off the Deadpool movies. So he's got a name and he's got some power with his money. There'll be hundreds of billionaires dying to jump on that ship with him. So if it's true, I think the only way right now to save Marvel, because Disney's not going to fire the woke, they've proven that by taking the profits out of Deadpool to fund their woke agenda, the only way to save Marvel is to sell it to Ryan Reynolds.